Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Friday, and we have all jokes aside, we actually do have some breaking news regarding the CMA's updated provisional findings as relates to the acquisition of Activision Blizzard King by Microsoft. So let's get into the latest news coming out of the UK right now. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another BRAP. It is Friday, and we have some breaking news coming out of the United Kingdom from the UK's regulatory agency body, the CMA. And so we're going to talk about that in just a second here. But if you could do me a quick favor, if you could hit that like button, and if you're new to the show, definitely consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Sherman Williams says, TGIF, morning, everyone. The pieces are finally falling into place. Ice Queen Gaming says, hey, Brap, great to see you both. And look, yeah, so I was kind of surprised. Well, I should say I'm surprised. Let me just give you my 2 cents on this deal and what I've talked about on this show previously. And that's, look, I've always thought this deal was going to go through with some concessions. I still think that's the case. I still think there's probably some concessions to be made. But let's talk about this reporting this morning by Game Industry Biz, or GameIndustry.biz, I should say. Great website, by the way, for gaming-related, industry-related news. They're probably one of my favorite media sites for gaming. So, and by the way, the other thing I was going to say, too, is, it's kind of interesting, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but the CMA kind of seems to be aligning with kind of the concerns, one of the major concerns with the EU, but I do think, and it's something we've talked about on this show before, again, Microsoft leveraging its adjacencies, particularly in cloud, and the impact that they can have in that market. Cloud gaming is a development market. It's not anywhere as mature as the console space, but it is something. It is a place that Microsoft could have some could dominate. And let's face it, they have those adjacencies to do that. They could have the content to do that. So and it may make it harder for cloud companies, cloud gaming companies to compete to Microsoft. And this is what I said, by the way, when people look, I don't disagree that having the options to cloud stream games that you're buying aren't a bad thing. I think they're great options for consumers to have. But let's also not pretend that Microsoft putting cloud on Boosteroid, and I forget what the other cloud service provider was, but and actually, I think is it Ubi something? Oh, crap! I'll have to look it up. But they do a lot of like cloud related solutions for Nintendo, and I wonder if Microsoft, if that deal relates to the deal they have with Nintendo. But anyhow, but at least with Boosteroid, I said this on Twitter before. I don't think allowing COD on Boosteroid makes Boosteroid more competitive in the cloud gaming space with Microsoft at scale. It just doesn't. And there's very few companies, I think, out there outside of the Googles and the Amazons who have the cloud infrastructure that could really compete at scale in cloud gaming as a Microsoft, with Microsoft. So I think that's important. Cloud and scale. I mean, I think it's important to just to mention that, at scale, that it's very difficult. It could be very difficult for these maybe new entries to compete at the same level as Microsoft. And that's kind of part of the point here. But let's get the article here. All right. So UK regulator now says Call of Duty exclusivity would be significantly loss-making for Microsoft. So, and we kind of talked about this on BRAP before. Like, would it make sense early on in the deal? Would it make sense for Microsoft to pool Call of Duty because Call of Duty is reliant on its player base. 48% of the people that buy Call of Duty are buying it on the PlayStation. If you looked at the Activision financials that were released, you'll see that that like 15%, 13 to 15% of revenue for generated for Activision actually is from Call of Duty on PlayStation. So it's a big chunk. And actually, they didn't even report the Xbox revenue because it wasn't significant enough to report. So if you think about it, I mean, 15%, 13, 15% of revenue is coming from Sony PlayStation for COD. That's huge. That is huge. That's big. And it's also big for Sony. We talked about this on the show before. Presumably, part of the reason why Sony is declining the 10-year deal, and everyone's like, oh, it's a 10-year deal. It's great. Who would want that deal? It's 10 years. Hillary and I love it. It's great. It's great for America. It's great. I mean, that'd be great for Sony. 10 years, a longer deal, just in terms of duration, doesn't necessarily guarantee that that deal's better. The devil's in the details, folks. So yeah, Vex says Microsoft's strategy is a loss leading, so yes, Microsoft can eat the loss for making Call of Duty. I mean, they could, but the question is, will they, or do they want to eat that loss? I don't disagree, Vex, that Microsoft as a $1 trillion company could eat the cost if they want to, but maybe they don't. Maybe Microsoft, and in light of that new information that was presented to the CMA, maybe Microsoft doesn't want to take that big loss. And because think about it, I mean, 48% of Call of Duty games are purchased on PlayStation. Do they want to assume that the 48% of those purchases that are happening on Sony are just going to migrate over to Xbox? You would imagine that that's not going to be the case. Hunter Iggy, I will get to your question here in just a second. I appreciate the question, though. All right, so CMA updates provisional findings to say Activision acquisition would not harm competition. Still concerned over the impact of cloud gaming. So let's get into the meat of the article here. The Competition and Markets Authority, the UK regulatory investigating Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard, has changed its stance on the impact of the deal would have on competition in the console space, as well as the likelihood of Xbox making Call of Duty exclusive to its system. The organization has updated its provisional findings. So remember, they did issue a provisional finding back in February. So they've updated this provisional finding. And they're saying based on a significant amount of new evidence that emerged in consultation period with interested parties. So now, again, they're updating. I feel like I have to repeat myself because I know people are going to misconstrue this article. That there are people out there that for whatever reason will take the English language and try to twist it around to fit their own narratives. But I digress. All right. So it's, based on a significant amount of new evidence that emerged in a consultation period with interested parties. According to a statement, the CMA inquiry group has reached the provisional conclusion that overall, the transaction will not result in a substantial lessening of competition in relation to console gaming in the UK. So they're saying, like, look, we don't think, there's no zero impact per se, but not enough that that it's going to substantially lessen competition, in the UK. So the most significant change is the view on whether Microsoft has financial incentive to make Activision games, including Call of Duty, exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. So this is what we were just talking about. Does Microsoft have the incentive to employ a loss leader and maybe take a lot of losses by potentially alienating a huge revenue stream of Call of Duty from PlayStation and potentially lose a sizable chunk of that Call of Duty base that may not want to migrate over to Xbox? I know that's a popular theory out there that, Microsoft can make COD exclusive, and then all of a sudden, all these people are just going to migrate over to Xbox. Like, that's not going to happen. I'm not saying that 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 there won't be some migration. I just don't think it's going to be at the levels that some diehard Xbox fans are out there saying is going to happen, or hypothesizing is going, or putting out the hypothesis that will happen. So, what's up, Punk Kiddish? All right, so let's see here. So while the CMA's original analysis indicated that this strategy would be profitable under most scenarios, new data, which provides better insight into the actual purchasing behavior of Call of Duty gamers, indicates that this strategy would be significantly loss-making under any plausible scenario. On this basis, the updated analysis now shows that it would not be commercially beneficial to Microsoft to make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox following the deal, but that Microsoft would still have to incentivize to continue to make the game. Microsoft will still have the incentive to continue to make the game available on PlayStation. However, the CMA emphasized that its concerns about the potential lessening of competition in the cloud gaming space still stand, something the regulatory will continue to consider as it appears to make its final decision by April 26. Look, April 26 can't come here soon enough. And then the regulatory body in the EU is actually looking to have their final decision by May 22nd. So this thing is finally coming to an end. So, but let's go into let me finish the article. Microsoft has been attempting to address. All right, so let me read this paragraph I just read. However, the CMA emphasized that its concerns about the potential lessening of competition in the cloud space, in the cloud gaming space, still stands, something the regulatory will continue to consider as it prepares to make its final decision on April 26th. Now, this is also a concern of the EU and FTC as well, and so it's going to be interesting to see what new information comes about with its concerns with cloud gaming. So now Microsoft has been attempting to address these via 10-year deals to bring Xbox games, including Activision titles, if the deal goes through, to multiple cloud services, including NVIDIA, GeForce Now, Boosteroid, and Ubisoft. Ubisoft was the other cloud a provider that I couldn't think of earlier in the show. So Ubisoft, but Ubisoft does do a lot of cloud solutions for Nintendo. So I wonder if that deal with Ubisoft is cloud related or cloud solution related to Call of Duty being on Nintendo. We'll find out. Hopefully we found out more about the specifics of that particular deal. So we know that the FTC has asked Microsoft to show them the 10-year deals, but Microsoft to this point has not provided that information to the FTC. So kind of interested to see why. I'm really curious to see why Microsoft hasn't provided that information. Maybe those deals, maybe there's some concern from Microsoft that maybe those deals may not appease the FTC, maybe raise more questions. I don't know. Or maybe Microsoft is just kind of doing what Sony did. When Sony was asked to provide information by the FTC or by Microsoft and refused to, and eventually the FTC said, no, you need to provide that information, Sony. So, but anyhow, provisional findings are a key aspect of the merger process and are explicitly designed to give the businesses involved and any interested third parties a chance to respond with new evidence before we make a final decision. So again, a lot of people have been I've been seeing people say, oh, this is a waste of taxpayers' money. No, it's not. I don't understand why people would. Here's my point. Like a lot of gamers will complain about like anti-competitive behavior. And, it's like gamers, like, why are we championing against oversight that could potentially protect consumers? I don't understand that when people say things like, oh, this is a waste of taxpayers' money. No, it's not a waste of taxpayers' money just because you have a vested interest in a console or a plastic box. No, this is designed to protect competition, to protect consumers. At the very least, do your homework on how these regulatory bodies operate and behave. If you look at other mergers and acquisitions, a lot of what we're seeing with this deal isn't new. This process isn't new, and it isn't out of the ordinary. I think a lot of people just haven't or aren't familiar, and this is the first time that they are, have been paying attention to the regulatory process. But this is how it goes. This is how it works. And this is why we have these regulatory bodies in place. Here in the U.S., the FTC or DOJ has, move to block JetBlue's acquisition of Spirit Airlines. We don't go out here and say American Airlines is scared of this deal. We don't do that. But people have done this for this deal. And that's a vertical merger, by the way, that the DOJ is going to block. So, all right. Let me finish reading the rest here. All right. Our provisional view that the deal raises concerns that the cloud gaming market is not affected by today's announcement. So they're saying, hey, look, okay, we've come to this new provisional update that there won't be substantial competitive impact in the console space. And I see a lot of Xbox guys out there dancing in the streets, popping their bottles, bump the brakes. There's still concerns about cloud gaming market. And so they're CMA saying, hey, look, we're not, our investigation remains. And our concerns about the cloud gaming market are not affected by today's announcement. So their investigation remains on course for completion by the end of April. That's April 26th. So, and again, Microsoft Activision acquisition still faces scrutiny from the EU regulators who have pushed their final decision back to May 22nd. So the EU pushed their decision back. I think it was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, I think their decision is supposed to be supposed to happen in May. But look, again, why would the regulatory bodies potentially be concerned about cloud gaming? And that's because what they're looking at, and I know a lot of people are saying, I've seen some people say on Twitter saying, "Oh, why are they worried about cloud gaming? It's not a big deal. Cloud's not a big deal. It's not a big deal today, but it could be tomorrow." And so Microsoft owning all these contents, owning this big publisher, owning or having the adjacencies, right? They can leverage their internal, they can leverage Azure, which they own. They own that cloud backbone. They don't have to go to a third party to pay for that cloud infrastructure, those cloud services. They have it in house, so that clearly gives them a leg up. It's another cost item that they can that they don't have to think about, or another line item that they don't have to think about in terms of cost. So when you think about competitors trying to enter, that COD space, that online multiplayer shooter space, that don't have a subscription service, that don't have the cloud backbone that Microsoft has, that's the concern. Are they companies today and presumably in the future that can enter into the cloud space and compete at scale with Microsoft? And that's what they're kind of looking at here. So, Vex says this will guarantee mass consolidation. Sony will be forced to buy multiple publishers as a $70 billion was not deemed anti-competitive, so any other buyout can't be stopped. Vex, that's kind of been one of my concerns too, mass consolidation in the gaming industry. I don't want to see a buying war. I don't want to see that because look, anytime, and we have tangible examples of mergers, acquisitions that haven't benefited consumers, especially in technology. You look at the internet services providers. Can we say that the consolidation of ISPs has benefited consumers? No, I'm paying more now than I've ever paid for internet. Matter of fact, I get charged more if I unbundle my services. Like Xfinity, I don't use a home phone. I use my cell phone. But if I unbundle phone, TV, internet, and I want to remove the phone piece, they're going to charge me more. It's more money. And I don't have a choice. Well, actually, I do have a choice. I in terms of internet, broadband internet, I should say, I don't have a choice where I live. Xfinity is the only player in town. That's it. Xfinity is the only player in town where I live. How's that choice? There was another provider that was here years ago before Comcast started gobbling up some of the more regional ISP providers, cable providers. Less choice, consolidation. Again, anytime you remove suppliers from the supply chain, that equals less choice to consumers. And when you consolidate that, the suppliers, right, and you could only go to them for a particular product or service, They can charge you whatever they want because you can't go anywhere else. So I do have some. I do caution people championing mass consolidation because mass consolidation typically does not benefit consumers. You look at the mobile space. I just talked about the ISP providers or the cable TV providers. Healthcare here in the U.S., oil and gas. Oil and gas probably being the most egregious of all those industries. But I don't want to see mass consolidation. I don't want to see Sony start buying up all these publishers to compete. This consolidation of power. I don't want to see that. It's funny. Like I see people are like, oh, it's going to lead to competition. No one's been able to articulate that to me, by the way. How does this lead to innovation in cloud and competition? I mean, what companies, is Boosteroid going to be competing at scale with Microsoft? No. So yeah, some concerns about consolidation. Alvaro Ruiz says Sony doesn't want to go to buying war with Microsoft anyway. I don't think Sony. I mean, Sony. Look, Sony's going to be Sony. Each company has a different risk appetite, and based on the financials, can do certain things that others can't. Like Microsoft as a corporation, if they want to flex their war chest to try to buy publishers or studios, Microsoft as a corporation can do that. That is competing. As much as people don't like hearing this, that is competition as well. Now, despite Microsoft having the ability to do that and having the right to do that as a corporation, I don't necessarily agree with or I don't want them to be buying everything up either, because I don't want to see that kind of consolidation in gaming. Yeah, Vex, I do hope this is Microsoft's last publisher, because I mean they've already bought ZeniMax Bethesda, and you got to imagine that this one goes through, it's going to be huge. And again, I do think this deal goes through. I think that I do think that I do think the deal's going to go through with a lot of concessions. Rodimus says mass consolidation shouldn't be concerned in a dynamic market. I don't agree with you, Rodimus. I don't agree with you at all. For the simple fact that the less suppliers you have, and I don't care how dynamic a market is, the less choice consumers have. Like there's no skating around that, Rodimus. Like the gaming industry doesn't granted, we haven't seen the type of consolidation in gaming yet that we've seen in other industries, but I do think that this is potentially the tipping point for that. Because you got to think about this for a second. If other publishers at some point, and they're seeing the money that Activision is getting out of this deal. Remember, look at the shares of Activision right now. Like what, $70-something is the last time I checked. Microsoft's acquiring for like 95. And these shareholders all have a vested interest. Lulu, the Activision CCO, has a vested interest in this, financially speaking. Bobby Kotick stands to receive a huge payday out of this deal, because Microsoft is paying way over the stock value of this of Activision. You got to imagine that if EA sees this, and you got to remember, corporations have a fiduciary responsibility to make their shareholders money. You don't think EA might start kicking the tires a little bit to see who can buy us? Maybe it's Tencent. Maybe it's NetEase. Yeah, Rodimus, I disagree with you. I disagree with you because when you look at the consolidation of the entertainment industry, that was a result of limited resources infrastructure. And if you think about, and if you want to, and Rodimus, if you want to actually critically think about this for a second, and you want to talk about limited resources and infrastructure as relates to cloud gaming, what three companies have those resources and infrastructure? Google, Amazon, Microsoft. I mean, the entertainment industry didn't have, limited resources. You did healthcare, for that matter, in this country, in the U.S. Jiu-jitsu, here's what we're not going to do, man. We're not going to say stuff like stop crying. We're all adults here. So when you come into this chat, jiu-jitsu, I expect you to act like an adult, put your big boy pants on, and don't come in here and say stop crying. I don't know who that's addressed to, but I mean, we're not. I said this on the last show. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not allowing people to come in here and just act like children over video games. Ponies are sour. Be an adult. Seriously. I hope you're not 50 years old. I hope the 50 on jiu-jitsu is not your actual age, because if it is, that's pretty sad. But look, I'm not I'm not going to we're not doing that. Froggy T writes, the barrier of entry the game industry is much lower than healthcare and cell networks. No, I mean, you have pretty low barriers of entries for cell and healthcare as well. That's not necessarily true, although the level of healthcare, you may not get the adequate healthcare for a very low level, a low entry point. You might not get the same feature sets on certain cell phones, but no, they are certainly lower entry points in the cell phone markets. But the point, Froggy T. White, and this is the point everyone seems to be glancing over, many people do, is that, again, anytime you have addition by subtraction, meaning anytime you have consolidation in the supply chain, that ultimately leads to less choice to consumers. Like Froggy T. White, there's no ways you can't get around that fact. Again, no one should be championing consolidation. Less choice. It's as simple as that. There's no arguing. Anytime you reduce the suppliers, anytime you eliminate options, that leads to less choice for consumers. There's no. Oh, you're talking about the network infrastructure. Well, I thought you were talking about from a consumer perspective. So you're saying the barrier of entry? No, but again, the barrier of entry to cloud gaming. And again, these are different industries. So now you can't, Froggy T, right? You can't compare the cost in one industry and the cost to another industry. And I guess you're trying to make the point that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's zero impact here. I mean, they're two different industries. If you're trying to say the barrier of entry that because it's cheaper to build cell phone towers than it is to make a cloud gaming infrastructure, therefore cloud gaming isn't necessarily going to be impacted, I disagree with that. Because again, no one's done that. No one's built that cloud infrastructure other than Microsoft. No, the point, Froggy T, was that I was talking about consolidation in different industries and how that leads to less consumer choice. This isn't that hard to figure out. Follow me, please. Pay attention. Isn't it? Again, less choice, less suppliers, less choice for consumers. That is what happens in mass consolidations. And if you're going to suggest that it's easier for, and we're talking about cloud gaming, because that's what the CMA and the other regulatory bodies are concerned about. He's going to talk. We're talking about the concern over cloud and why there's a concern, because again, there aren't many companies right now that have the war chest to buy content the way Microsoft does. But not only that, well, Foggy, I'm not talking down to you, sir. I'm just saying, pay attention. But what I'm saying is, like, as it relates to cloud, not many companies have the war chest that Microsoft has to buy content. And we're seeing it right now, $70 billion deal in cash. And not many companies have that or have that backbone, that cloud infrastructure. They just don't. And that's the point. Like, and I think that's the concern of the regulatory bodies. Like, are there going to be competitors trying to enter that space, whether now or in the future? No, Froggy T, right. And this is why if you think I'm talking down to you, is because you're like, you can't compare apples to apples when talking about consolidation, total different industries. No, you're missing the point. Consolidation in any industry leads to less choice, which less choice never benefits consumers. That's the point. The other point, too, is that there aren't many companies right now that can compete at scale in terms of cloud that Microsoft or Amazon or Google. And this isn't about who the least bad option is. This is about like when I talk about this deal, mostly, outside of just talking about the specifics to what the UK, the FTC, and the EU are saying, I'm also talking about this from Mike, you woke a sleeping giant. Jesus, this isn't World War II jiu-jitsu. But when I'm talking about this deal, when I'm talking about the consolidation piece, understand me, it's from the perspective that we have tangible proof, evidence that no, Froggy T, right. You don't understand cloud. Okay. You pull this up. Froggy T, right, says, in an industry that has low barriers to entry, consolidation is less of an impact. No, again, consolidation. You remove people. You're removing people. This isn't a hard concept. You're removing people, suppliers. That leads to less choice. It doesn't matter the low cost of entry. And also, as it relates to cloud gaming, and yes, you're not getting, Activision isn't providing a cloud backbone, but they are providing content. That is the point. I don't understand, like, and this is the frustrating part I have. Like when I talk about this content, like you guys are like taking bits and pieces of what I say. Oh, well, that's not it, Brad. That's not. No, again, consolidation, regardless of any industry, mass consolidation leads to less choice. The concern of the regulatory bodies as it relates to cloud is competition. And are they competitors that can enter the space and compete at scale with Microsoft? So when you combine content, Cloud infrastructure. Scale. Who could compete at scale as Microsoft? That's the point. Frog, is he right? You said the low cost of entry doesn't matter because there'll be new entrants. Again, we're talking about cloud. Okay, let me. Maybe I should back this up again. The concern by the regulatory bodies is the future of cloud, of monthly gaming subscriptions. All right. That's what they're talking about. That's what the concern is. Who can compete at scale with Microsoft in a cloud subscription space? Microsoft doesn't have to worry. It's one less line item on their balance sheet that they have to worry about in terms of cloud infrastructure costs in gaming, because they own that. So if you're a competitor trying to compete in that space, you have an additional cost that Microsoft doesn't have to account for. Again, scale, competing at scale. This isn't I don't know. I don't know what to say. Buck with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Buck. Says, Brad, you said the regulatory process, EC and CMA have excluded so many arguments. FTC rushed to sue in December when they had a January 23 deadline was foolish. How is that foolish? How's that? You're going to have to substantiate what that means, Buck. You just can't say that was foolish. How? Thank you for the super chat. Punk Kiddish, again, I think you're going to have to substantiate that too. So can we call a space today? If this deal goes through, Sony just really screwed themselves. How? You have to. This is the thing, people. Like, we have to, when we say things like this, we kind of have to back these things up. We can't just say, oh, they screwed themselves, or, oh, they're scared. Like the whole Jim Ryan scared. Oh, Microsoft, they're not competing because they can't make their own studios. No, they are competing. Microsoft is competing. This is them competing. I don't always agree with Bubba Fett Gaming, but I think Bubba Fett nailed it here. Financial power and the ability to scale production according to market need. These are all the things that are difficult for smaller companies to provide on their own. Hence, consolidation can be good. No, consolidation is not good. I agree with you up until the consolidation point. But that's kind of the point. Like, the financial power and the ability for Microsoft to scale and to have access to that cloud infrastructure. So, I agree with the first part, but not the last part. Unless you make consolidation can't be good. Captain Chris says, cloud is improving. What are we doing here? Look, I mean, cloud isn't a dominant portion of the market, but again, these companies are positioning themselves. These companies are positioning themselves to in the event that, look, and cloud is already here in gaming. Like, that's not that it's here. But a lot of these companies are betting that market's going to mature. And so that's why you see these investments in content. Buffett wants to who should be competing with Microsoft? It's a great question. I mean, the only other companies that could compete with Microsoft when you think about financials and the cloud infrastructure are Amazon and Google. Froggy T Rice says, seems like Nvidia can compete. They're a very large player. Sure, Nvidia is a large player, but they're not. But Nvidia doesn't have its own cloud infrastructure. They also don't make content. They're not a content provider. I mean, again, that's part of the point, Froggy T, right? Microsoft owning content, owning cloud infrastructure. Nvidia doesn't own content. They don't own cloud infrastructure. They don't make video games. Microsoft does. Bayman says, new cloud entrants might not have COD or any Activision games. They can't compete. If Sony and others gobble up the rest of a big third party, then no new entrants would even dare to join. You got to remember, when you have a consolidation in any industry, you also have a consolidation of talent. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a BRAP rant about this consolidation in the gaming industry. And why it's not necessarily like it's a little more nuanced than I think what we're giving it credit. And I'm trying to just focus on the I would say Apple, Froggy T, right? Apple's another one that could probably do it. Well, Google tried to compete in gaming and they got out. Because again, content. Google didn't have content to really move the needle, nor did they really give a compelling reason, I think, or argument to use Stadia. Oh, Buck. Again, Buck, you're going to have to substantiate why Lena Khan should be fired. And see, these are the kind of like comments that are baffling to me. What a waste of taxpayer dollars and lack of due diligence prior to filing a lawsuit cannot be defended. Based on what, Buck? Based on what? I mean, are you? I mean, like based on what? Because you don't. Because because you're pro Xbox and you feel like, oh, it's a waste of time. This deal should just go through. I mean, but Lena Khan, why should she be fired? I mean, clearly she was tapped on the shoulder by the current administration to be the FTC chair. Should the head of the DOJ be fired? Because the head of the DOJ is also in agreement with Lena Khan. And Buck, furthermore, you also don't understand how your comment just shows me you don't understand how the FTC or the other agencies are funded. Yes, they are funded by taxpayer dollars, but she's not doing anything that's wasting taxpayer dollars. She's operating within her given budget. That budget's was already set. I mean, do you think she should be fired or do you think the head of the DOJ should be fired because they sued to stop another vertical merger of Sky Blue buying Spirit Airlines? Are you upset about that? Vertical merger. Probably not. Like I don't like I really don't understand this line of reasoning. Lena Khan should be fired. Like why? Like you guys say these things and don't even substantiate them. It's so weird. Froggy T. Rice says 10-year deals with smaller providers should let them scale a bit more with Microsoft not walling off their content. Again, putting content on other, smaller providers doesn't mean that those providers are competing at scale with Microsoft. It just means that Microsoft has their content on those providers, and that's it. And not that there's zero benefit to those smaller providers. Obviously, they may be able to attract more users to their platform, but again, it's competition. They're still not competing at scale with Microsoft. And that's sort of the point. Victor also says, why not invite one of these guys on? Because I just like butting heads. Victor also, I'd be happy to invite anyone on who wants to join on and have a conversation. I've asked people to come on before. They just don't. Again, Froggy T. Wright, it's not just cloud. I've said this. It's both content and cloud. And again, if someone has to lease space from Amazon or Microsoft or Google, it's still an additional cost that Microsoft doesn't have to worry about. Froggy T. Wright, I've been very clear about that. It's one less line item. Of expense for Microsoft that another company has to consider. Froggy T. Wright, if you own a cloud infrastructure business and you own content in gaming, and I come to you and I have to pay you $100 for content or to have cloud infrastructure, how much do you pay for cloud infrastructure? Nothing. It's not a cost for you. You own it. You're also making money off your cloud infrastructure and enterprise, which you have a monopoly on. Leveraging adjacencies. There is large amounts of capital injected into the space once investors think they are a large enough customer bases. Again, you don't own the infrastructure. That's the. I don't know how else to. I really don't know how else I can. Look, and I'm not saying that you won't have people jumping into the space backed by maybe VC, but the point is that again, Microsoft owns the infrastructure. That's the point, and the content now. Leveraging their adjacencies. Cypher Poetic X says, do they announce a deal with Amazon? No. And actually, I would argue that a deal with Amazon would actually be a big, hey, look, we're trying, because remember, Amazon does have Luna, and Amazon does own some content, but that would be huge. I think that would probably move the needle more. Actually, I do think that would, in my opinion, I think that would move the needle more than making these deals with like Boosteroid, these small, cloud streaming services or cloud gaming companies that no one's really heard of. I think that would move the needle because that Amazon is a company that could compete at scale with Microsoft. I agree with you here, Froggy T, right? Google shot themselves in the foot. I don't disagree. No, I mean, but Bubba Fett, how would I mean, Microsoft has the cloud infrastructure right now. Your comment makes no sense. And Buffett, you're basically arguing mass consolidation like it's good for gamers when we have tangible like evidence. If you look at other industries, that's not the case. You end up paying more money. You'll have less choice, but maybe that's what you want, Bubba Fay. Maybe you want less choice. Maybe for you, the plastic box is what matters the most. And that plastic box dominating that company that you cheer or pom-pom for, that matters to you most. Not consumers, not choice. There probably is, Ryan Landis. Okay, Froggy T. Right. Look, man. Again, you are missing the point, man. And now you're being intellectually disingenuous because now you're trying. Now this is a whataboutism. Buying a fleet of jets is way more capital intensive than launching games. You're totally skating by the scale piece. You're totally skating by the cloud piece. Like, stop. Punkish says, Brap, I don't think any company can really compete in the gaming market. I feel the three big dogs have been doing it for so long. But look, and that is, Punkish, this is the concern, by the way. What you're framing out here, this is the concern that regulatory agencies have of the big five, the big tech companies. Do we want the big tech companies to go into different industries and start gobbling this stuff up where we have these mega corporations? Do we want to have Weyland-Yutani corporations? That's an Aliens reference, by the way. If you remember the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, it was a giant mega corporation from the Alien franchise. Is that what we want? Buying up publishers isn't good for the industry. The deal will start snowball buyouts for Microsoft, and others we lose in the end as consumers. That's kind of my concern. Like, does this start the snowball effect? Does this put the pedal? Does this put up the foot on the pedal now? Froggy T. Wright, we're talking about cloud. I don't understand. Like, some of the largest hits in the past few years have been indie startups. Okay. What does that have to do with cloud? Being able to compete with Microsoft at scale in terms of cloud and the concerns around the CMA and the EU and the FTC with cloud. That's what I've been talking about. I want to ask people in the live chat, are you guys following me here? I want to make sure that I'm not, because I don't know why Froggy T. Wright's bringing up these things that aren't related to what I've been talking about cloud. Hopefully what I'm saying is making sense to everyone here in the live chat. Please let me know in the live chat. Because I'm besides myself here. I don't want any cloud service from any mom and pop provider. Based on what? Have you had experiences with mom and pop cloud service providers? I mean, Bubba Fett is the antithesis of anti-consumer. By the way, I'm starting to see that because he worships. He's a pro Xbox guy. Look, I don't. You can have your platform of choice, but this kind of like worshiping of corporations really weird. Microsoft owns cloud infrastructure. They do have maintenance costs and things like engineers to pay and generally some IT. Yeah, they do. But again, they own the infrastructure. It's not a line item expense for them as it would be for another developer or publisher. And by the way, those when they bill clients, when they bill their external clients or third party clients, part of what they're billing into that service cost are the maintenance fees or the maintenance costs and cost of human capital to support that infrastructure internally. Mr. Orange, those costs are built in and passed on to people that are buying cloud services from Microsoft. Xboxer, we're not going to have this kind of conversation here. When you say Jim Ryan will go crawling back to Phil, like seriously, like this is, again, guys, I don't want this kind of conversation here in the chat. It's very childish. You're missing. Yes, you're making. Thank you, Ryan. No, Froggy T. Right again. Oh my goodness, I don't know else how to explain it, man. Like, cloud, own the content. You don't have to pay for cloud. You're trying to develop a game in a cloud future, in a subscription model. You don't own those things. As a smaller developer, you have to pay for them. I don't understand like how this is not like I don't know. Maybe I'm talking Chinese. I don't know. Ryan Landis gets it though. Yes, Ryan Landis, yes, you're making sense to everyone that doesn't worship corporations. Thank you. And I think unfortunately that's what's happening, Ryan. People want to defend corporations. Like, guys, stop defending corporations. They don't care about you. It's really weird. Why are people attaching their their identity to a company? That's so weird to me. These companies don't care about you. Nerf it $2 the $2 pound or £2 I should say. Super chat. Shilling is weird. Shilling for Microsoft is even weirder. I think. Look, shilling is in general just weird. Gavin Curse says Switch massive market share is proof the cloud won't take off. I don't agree with that. I don't. I think at some point cloud will take off because if you look at like how children are consuming media and entertainment now, it's all via cloud. It's all like, on demand. Frog and T right. No, you're just not making very logical arguments. And you're making arguments that just that aren't related to what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about companies, the concern about the regulatory bodies of a company having cloud infrastructure, leverage its adjacencies to grab market share and position itself in a dominant space, in a dominant position where it would be harder for new entries to compete at scale. This isn't some abstract concept that I'm laying out here. And you would argue, indie games are the best indie game. Well, okay, that's today. I mean, you keep skating by the cloud piece, the infrastructure piece. And you keep skating by consolidation, less choice. I would pick up a Vodafone or Verizon. No, I want a reliable and valuable service, not a service that fails basic measure, hence mom and pop. I mean, again, what mom and pop services have you had that have failed you? I mean, before there was Verizon wireless, I had what was it, Nextel. Didn't have any issues with Nextel. They weren't a Verizon. They weren't an AT&T. I don't know if that means Froggy T, right? I don't know, man. So now, Froggy T, right now you've gone to like trying to levy insults because you don't have an argument. I'm not hand waving your point. Your points just have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Okay, I mean that's fine. You don't. I mean, look, we don't have to agree, but you're pom-pomming mass consolidation, and I'm just telling you, mass consolidation leads to less choice for consumers. If you're okay with less choice, then that's on you. No, I'm not getting loud and emotional. I'm just having a conversation. And Buck, you still haven't substantiated your earlier conversation. You're talking about you're projecting me being emotional because you haven't been able to back up your initial point. About Lena Khan needing to be fired and all that nonsense. Cypher Poetic X says, just imagine Microsoft was left unchecked forever. It's a great point. I mean, you could insert any corporation into that sentence. Imagine Sony being unchecked. Imagine Verizon being unchecked. Imagine Tencent being unchecked. Tony Twist, Brad, you should take an L and move on. Why? How? I mean, what does that mean? Again, here we are with the elementary level responses. Let's do better in here, Tony Twist. No, Boba Fett, I understand your point. I just don't agree with you. I mean, you think consolidation is beneficial to consumers because you're getting the best service. That's not necessarily true, because if they aren't, Boba Fett, you have to understand there's examples of consolidation where, and I I was hoping you would have arrived to this point on your own, but there are examples of consolidation, airline industry being one, ISP providers being another, where not having competition hasn't necessarily led to innovation or improved infrastructure. You look at the ISP providers. 20% of people in the U.S. don't have broadband internet. Some people don't even have, gigabyte internet. Google was trying to push gigabyte internet throughout the U.S. and they ran up against the ISPs and pushed them out. They lobbied Congress. They lobbied local officials. So no, sometimes consolidation, as you think, doesn't benefit consumers in the way you think it does in terms of improved services, because there's no incentive. When you have no choice and you only have to look at John Madden football as an example of this. Madden football has no competition. I think we'd all agree, people who have played Madden for years, like I have, agree the quality of that game has gone down because there's no incentive for EA to make a quality or better Madden because there's no competition. So, but your premise that consolidation is going to be good for consumers because you're going to have a better experience isn't necessarily true either. Because when you're a company, when your consumers have no choice and you could charge your consumers whatever they want because they can't go anywhere else, How inclined are you as a corporation that has a fiduciary responsibility to make their shareholders money, to make money in general, to be very profitable? What's the incentive for you as a corporation, financially speaking, to invest in things that are going to cost your company more money, to provide better service when your consumers don't have anywhere else to go? That's the point that you're missing, Bubba Fett. And I didn't want to, I was hoping you would have figured that out or arrived to that point. I have read up on industry evolution. Really, again, a lot of evolution in industries have happened at the smaller mom and pops. Bubba Fett. Apple wasn't a giant corporation in the 70s when they came up with the idea of a home PC or the desktop as we know it. Microsoft wasn't this ginormous corporation at the start of technology when when PCs started becoming more mainstream in homes and their operating system. I've seen many on Twitter trying to have valid arguments to you and evade and move the goalposts. I'm just frustrated. No, a lot of those people that are having conversations with me are just like pro Xbox people that are very dogmatic in their views. Froggy T. Wright. This is the problem that I'm having right now. I'm talking about mass consolidation leading to less choice for consumers. I'm not arguing that consumers don't have less choice today. There's so many options in gaming today. I don't know how much clearer I can get. Consolidation leads to less choice. I'm not arguing that gamers don't have options today. I'm arguing that consolidation has less choice, leads to less choice for consumers. I don't understand how you're conflating this. I really don't. Yes, Anonymous, the government, and I haven't read the article, but there was an article that the government saying Sony's been unchecked in Japan in their trade agreement negotiations. Yeah. Yeah, and okay. Game for just, I think this whole conversation is stupid. It's like telling people they need water to live, but they don't. But they argue they don't. Brap, your argument is falling on deaf ears. Surface level is all they see. Thank you, Forte. No, because that's not the point that I'm making, Froggy T. Right? You are throwing in points that have nothing to do with my point of consolidation. Look here says, yeah, it's going around up now. The big boys like Tencent, others buying up smaller devs like this deal makes that possible. I mean, that's the other thing, like consolidation. Like I know Froggy T. Rays are arguing, yeah, they're smaller developers. They are. A lot of these small developers are being bought up too. Yeah, actually, a lot of the people have been disagreeing with me have been Xbox fanboys. A couple PlayStation fanboys will disagree every once in a while. But yeah. Ice Cream Gaming says, "Wake me up when wake me up when this is all over, please. My head is hurting." I'm sorry, Ice Cream Gaming. I was channeling my inner Optimus Code. Code, rest in peace. I miss Optimus Code. You know, before Optimus Code passed away, he said that this deal was more about mobile than it was Call of Duty for Microsoft. I don't disagree with him. Again, Tony Twist, you're not adding anything of value to this conversation. Like you haven't even, you just said take an L. I mean, like you're not. I mean, just in here just talking, just to talk. Well, at least you admit it that you don't add anything of value, Tony. So that's I guess that's progress. Victor Jossie says, hate to say, but Brap, you're dogmatic in your opinion. How am I being dogmatic? I'm talking about consolidation and how consolidation doesn't lead to less choice for consumers. I don't know how that's dogmatic. I mean, we have tangible evidence of that. I don't understand how providing tangible evidence, talking about such evidence, is being dogmatic. I'd love for you to kind of explain it to me, Victor, because that's what we're talking about. Yeah, Rinku Mulati says 5 years. COD, I don't know. COD's not going to be dead in 5 years. That's no. Barring a competitor, that game just releasing in very poor condition on a yearly, like year over year, I don't see that game being dead in 5 years. I could be wrong. Never speaking absolutes, but I could be wrong. Someone asked me on DM, Brad, would you care if someone's like actually asked me like, Brad, you would DM me like you'd probably be okay if Sony was buying ABK. No, I wouldn't. Froggy T, right? The conversation. Let me just break it. The conversation has been mass consolidation. Okay, how it's not good for consumers based on tangible evidence from other industries, and the fact that when you have less when you have less hey Marcos, again, we're not going to do this in the chat, man. Like if you're not going to like come here and say I love the cries here, like are you 5? We're not going to do that. We're talking about again, Froggy T, right? Substantiate how I'm wrong about stuff. I'm talking about consolidation, leaving to less choice. Like that's a fact. I'm talking about cloud, the ability for cloud. I mean, I'm talking about cloud, the concerns that the regulatory agencies have about cloud gaming. And why do they have concerns over cloud gaming? Because Microsoft owns content. They would own a lot of content with this deal. They also have the infrastructure in place to compete at scale that many other companies can't compete at scale with Microsoft, except for maybe Apple, Google, Amazon. No, I'm talking about two different things. You just haven't been paying attention, Froggy. Lou, it's less choice in terms of where you get your games from and who's making those games. That's the point. I don't like if like let me do this for you, Lou. If you have 3 console manufacturers, okay, 2 go away and you only have 1, do you not have less choice? Victor says, Brap, for starters, this doesn't work for this kind of conversation. Both sides to be heard and points taken. I don't disagree with that, Victor, but the problem is that people are conflating things that I'm saying in the chat, and not all, but one person in particular. Everyone else seems to be fine. Everyone else gets it. Wilbur Country, Brap, it's really stupid. It's really stupid to think you're a place. It's really stupid. People think you're a PlayStation fanboy. They don't listen to your podcast. You're more of a Halo fanboy. Wilbur gets it. Wilbur gets it. I play Halo Infinite almost every night. I've been playing season 3 of Halo Infinite. No, look, I don't have an issue being wrong. When you bring up like when you're not like conflating things that I'm saying, Froggy T, right? Which you tend to do a lot. I see you in your comment section. I see you in the comment section after shows. You conflate things that me and even some of the panel members have said. I'm wrong every day. I have no problem admitting that. But thank you, Borbor. Yeah, I play Halo Infinite almost nightly. I'm going to start asking some of you guys for your KD in Halo Infinite. Yeah, I tell you, man, Halo Infinite season. I tell you, Halo's gunplay, Halo's core gameplay mechanics are so good. I really hope that 343i really turns it around with that franchise. That we start getting more content, more maps. I do, and I really do think with Halo Infinite. I know the topic isn't Halo Infinite. I do think with Halo Infinite, though, I do think that that they should I think for this game to work as a live services game. In my opinion, I think they should. Because the upgrades you get, the armor upgrades you get are kind of like not, they're not really like, they're not engaging for me. Like, oh, I get a shoulder pad. I got a knee pad. Okay. There's not enough tinkering involved. Like, that's the one thing I like about Call of Duty and the battle pass is they allow you to, they allow you to kind of tinker with weapon loadouts, with a variety of different weapons and create loadouts for different maps, different engagements. Their battle pass is definitely more engaging than what is being offered in Halo Infinite. So I say, look, scrap what you have now in terms of the battle pass Halo Infinite and create different weapons that allow the player to tinker and have weapon attachments, earn weapon attachments, loadouts, things like that. Do that. To me, that'd be a more engaging experience for a battle pass for Halo Infinite. I don't think they'll do it because I think the Halo community will go bananas and get it. But that would be great because the core gameplay mechanics for Halo Infinite are really solid, really solid. It's definitely the multiplayer aspect. I didn't really like the campaign of Halo Infinite, but the multiplayer aspect of Halo Infinite is probably is definitely the high point in that game for me. And that shooter, from a multiplayer perspective, is one of my favorite shooters right now. Brett, worry about consolidation. PlayStation COD fans worry for further drop in quality under Microsoft. These not legitimate concerns, especially when we have historic data to go with. I mean, look, I obviously, as Sony's embellishing the truth a little bit, like, oh, they might put bugs on our games. No, I don't think Microsoft's going. I think that's a little stretching the truth for Sony's part. Look, both companies have made bad faith arguments in this deal to the regulatory agencies. The example of the bugs is one of Sony's bad faith arguments where I'm like, no, Sony, come on. Like, you guys are Sony's stretching the truth here a little bit. But there is something to be said. I mean, like, you were going and Microsoft, the Xbox CFO kind of hinted at this. I forget his name. Brad something, not Brad Smith. Maybe I forget his name, or is it? I'll have to look it up. But the the Xbox CFO was actually on record saying, look, obviously we're going to, put a lot of more resources and best foot forward on our, first party stuff. And look, as Microsoft has every right to do that. They have every right to do that. They have every right to do that. I mean, so, it's, I get it. Like, I'm not saying Microsoft has the right to do it. They absolutely have the right to do that. But I don't think that it's to the level that Sony's saying where, obviously, you would imagine Call of Duty is going to be optimized better for the Xbox platforms than the PlayStation platform. I mean, you would expect that, right? But I think Sony was embellishing the truth a little bit by saying they could purposely put bugs in there. I don't see that happening. If it did, it'd be super nefarious of Microsoft to do that. But I don't think they would. I don't think they would because look, they're going to want to. They got to sell copies. They got to sell games. They got to sell a game that works, that's playable on PlayStation to make money. But obviously, I don't. But I do agree that Microsoft has every right, and it makes sense. Why wouldn't they? They're going to. It's their first party. Presumably, their first party the deal goes through. They're going to leverage resources to make that game run best on their platform, as they should. So they own it. Yeah, exactly. Raven says corporate speaking on both sides. Absolutely, Raven. He gets it. This man gets it right here. Sanu.com says, it's an interesting point. Daytime cloud traffic is enterprise solutions. Nighttime cloud traffic is streaming and gaming. Microsoft's making moves to secure 24-hour maximum traffic for Azure servers. Economies of scale 101. Woo! That's a good point. I tell you, the one thing that Phil did well, and what I think is very forward thinking of Phil Spencer, is that he's like, okay, let's figure out how to make the Xbox business align with Microsoft's core competencies: software as a service, cloud infrastructure, Game Pass. I mean, wow, right? It makes sense. Look, all these moves make total sense to me, Microsoft, that they're making. They have the cloud infrastructure. They have Xbox as a platform for gaming. They could be the dominant platform holder in cloud streaming into in the game subscription service. Look, they can't compete with Sony in terms of console and the traditional console model. And we have evidence of that based on console sales. It's smart for Microsoft to pivot and leverage, their core competencies, things that they're really good at. And this is what they're good at. All right, everyone. I'm going to wrap up this conversation because it's gone a little bit longer than I wanted to. I was only looking to stream for like an hour. But no, thank you, everyone, for coming by, hanging out with us. Appreciate the discourse as always. By the way, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree. Bubba Fett says that's where I truly disagree. I can't cope with the desync netcode. Yeah, I don't look. I don't disagree with you, Bubba Fett. There's definitely desync issues. That part is that is I don't disagree. But for me, in my opinion, while those things are frustrating and they suck, for me, there's enough enough good moments in my experience playing multiplayer that kind of caused me to kind of overlook that, or be a little more tolerant of desync. But no, I don't disagree with you. I could see that, Bubba Fett, how one wouldn't be able to deal with the desync, because it's still an issue. It's still an issue. But I guess for me, personally, and I'm not saying you're wrong here, Bubba Fett. I'm just saying, for me, there's enough good stuff there and my experience is to kind of enough for me to kind of just be a little more tolerant of the desync. But yeah, it sucks when it happens. It is infuriating. It's frustrating, and I want to throw my controller down. Actually, I would never throw my controller down because I use the Xbox Elite 2 controller, which, by the way, I did get the DualSense Edge. Look, I like the DualSense Edge. It's a great pro controller for the PlayStation 5, but I definitely prefer the Elite 2 controller for shooters. I just feel like the trigger buttons on the Elite 2 are they feel a little more solid to me. With the PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation DualSense Edge, the trigger buttons feel a little more spongy, I guess. That's probably the best way to explain it. So, but if you're still playing, Halo Infinite Season 3, let me know, man. We're always looking for people to play with, like a squad to play with. If we could get like a squad of 4 going on a regular basis, that would be awesome. So if you're interested, just message me on Twitter if you want to link up and play some Halo Infinite. I would be down for that, Boba Fett. See, look, even Boba Fett and I disagree. I would still play video games with him because that's what it's all about. It's all about playing video games and having fun. I've had too much coffee this morning. I'm sorry. Ryan listens, by the way, our secret podium meeting is at 5 p.m. sharp. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But yeah, Boba Fett, if you want to send me a message, man, up to you. If you want to send me a message on Twitter at @brap_podcast on Twitter, if you want to do that, send me a DM with gamertag, man. I'd be more than happy to link up and get some Halo in, man. Because again, like I'm like, there's probably 2 or 3 people that I play with regularly, but they're not always on. So if I can get some more people on in rotation in a squad, that would be awesome. Because we get it squad 4-on-4, that's great. Because you get people on comms, it's great. So, but let me know, Boba Fett. Totally up to you, man. But I would definitely be open to and enjoy running some Halo Infinite Season 3, man. So, but look, everyone, thank you everyone for hanging out with me in the live chat. I really appreciate it. Look, at the end of the day, it's okay to disagree. And most everyone was very respectful in the discourse here, except for a few people came in and were acting like children. And again, we're not going to do that here in this chat. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, you come in and you say, "Oh, take the L," and "No, you crying." You start doing that, you're out. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. It's like, if you want to disagree, have conversation, that's fine. That's fine. But I'm not doing the other stuff. So, all right, everyone. Hey, have a great time. Have a great weekend. Hey, Diablo open beta starts, I think, today. So if you're interested, go check that out. I'm going to check it out this weekend. Probably going to have it's Alex on Wednesday to discuss the Diablo beta, because Alex is a diehard Diablo fan. So I believe he's going to join us this coming Wednesday. May do another Brap rant Saturday or Sunday of this weekend. So keep an eye out for that. Follow me on Twitters at Brap_podcast. But again, everyone, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate the discourse. Hey, look, it's okay to disagree as long as we're all, keeping it, civil. But again, not going to tolerate the other stuff of, the crying and take L's. That's ridiculous. Like, that's just childlike. We're not doing that here in the show. Really not. We're just not doing that anymore. But no, everyone, have a great weekend. Enjoy gaming. Have gaming. And Boba Fett, let me know about Halo Infinite, man. If you want to run some Team Slayer or whatever map, whatever modes or maps you're interested in. I'm not a big fan of Big Team Battle, but I'd run that too, I guess. But no, thank you, everyone. Until next time, and enjoy your time playing video games, because this was all about having fun. Thank you.